Hi everyone. Hi, it's Jav here from Medieval Mirage. I'm so happy you're joining me today. Thank you so much for your visit. I really appreciate it. So this is part 3 of the tutorial on the Flower Press journal cover, and this is the construction of an alternative way of dealing with the flower press journal that we made in part 1. In this one, especially for those that don't like exposed spines, I'm showing you how you can make a beautiful journal cover that actually has the elastic way of binding everything in so that it compresses the dried flowers inside. And it's my privilege to be able to share how I made this with you. So please join me. It'll be great to have your company. I'm going to show you how I'm kind of engineering this. I've got this board here that I've painted, and I just wanted to show you something. The cardboard, as you know, sometimes has those ridges. All right, so something like this. Okay, these are like my little templates. You'll see why we're going to be using that. Okay, see that there? I've covered that. And the way to do that is either with very thick gesso or joint compound. So like, I think is it speckles or something like that, or any kind of polyfiller, you know, when you're doing your walls and there's a hole in it and you cover it with a polyfiller. I use this. This is one of my favorite glues, especially for a lot of the things that you need. Like, it does everything: wood, metal, glass, ceramic, concrete, the works, plastics, and so forth. But it's very, very thick. And so I use this like gesso. It's hard to get into, but you can squeeze some out and then use anything: a spatula, a palette knife, plastic knife, whatever you've got on hand. Anything can go onto it, and then you just fill it in. If it's a little bit difficult to get things in, you can just use one of the skewers, one of these, and then once you've done it, then you just scrape it off. Okay, and then you can paint over it. So that's all you have to do with something like that, whatever you've got on hand. So I was able to paint it. And yeah, so this is just some cardboard, corrugated cardboard, but one side is nice and firm. Okay, so here's my other protector. So this is what I did years ago. A bit hard to see. Yes, a little bit of, I don't think it's gold foil. It's gold leaf gilding, an inexpensive brand. Yeah, I love it. And it's been laminated. Okay, so basically that will be like my page protector. Okay, so now the test is, and so now we can do our test run. Let me just show you. Okay. Very good. Okay, so you can see here, this is still not long enough, but other than that, that's what it looks like. Okay, so now you might just want to have this like this, but I'm just going to show you how you can make this be a permanent fixture, so that if you are going to go out in your garden and you want to go and collect some more for your project, you can take it out with you, or you just have it here. Okay, so this is where we're now going to be attaching this, so it becomes functional, and therefore you can take that out or leave it there and do your work. Anyway, please enjoy the process. So if you're just jumping in and watching me for the first time here, a warm hello to you. If you would like, it would be worth your while watching part 1 of this because it'll make so much more sense. You are watching now me placing Velcro, and it's self-adhesive Velcro, though you will have to be wary of self-adhesive Velcro because it does tend to move, especially when you're working with elastic. Elastic is going to stretch, but the Velcro isn't. So you can imagine that sometimes it will get pulled off. If you can find Velcro that you can sew with your sewing machine, you would be better off, which I show you in part 1. But if you don't, then just be prepared from time to time for it sort of, I don't know, moving around. It will go back into place. It's just a bit annoying. And you can also add more glue to it, as you will see in my video. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know, if you're putting a longer Velcro on, you need to stretch this, because what will happen if it's self-adhesive, it is going to flick off, or part of it's going to flick off. Now that I've kind of moved this around so that it knows, oh, okay. So the other thing is the self-adhesive isn't going to last forever, so you may want to sew it down or get a good fabric glue, my very thick glue. And I'm going to sort of just put it in where it's going to get its most stress and strain, and that's what you'll be seeing me do. And then but I know that this is the perfect fit for this now, and I hope what I've demonstrated will give you a clue. Here we are gluing down the self-adhesive Velcro. I needed black, but I didn't have the sew-on Velcro, so that's why I basically had to use this. And honestly, for those of you that are starting out, if you've got clothes pegs, boy, they are the best clips, honestly. The good old humble clothes peg can absolutely be a savior when you need to glue something down and keep going with your work, but you need to have it sort of functioning for you so that things glue down. Alright, so basically this is all I'm doing. I'm measuring things out to make sure that I've got enough coverage of the elastic to go around the fabric hinge journal, which we made together in part 1. And you need to do this because you need to know how much elastic you need. But this construction is a little bit different in the sense that it's going to be stable. It's going into the journal, the flower press journal cover. It's going to be part of that. You need to make sure all the watercolor paper that you want is actually in the flower press journal, because then you'll be able to know exactly how much elastic you are going to need. That is an essential part of this. Just a little bit over 16, just a little bit, a smidge for both. 16 inches, 18 inches there. All right, so now what we're doing is, this is my method mechanism. All right, so did you notice when I was pulling the elastic, after I'd put the self-adhesive, what do we call it, Velcro, I was pulling? Did you notice how it was moving? That's right, so it hasn't had its chance to be stretched to its fullest capacity. So if you can, that's why you need to have this all filled out, because you want it to go to its fullest capacity as a stretch, and then it will start to relax, and then the self-adhesive will basically settle and glue down. That's why I kept working at it. And did I actually press it down? I hope I did. I'll have to do a bit of that afterwards. But I've just, for the sake of, what do we call it, for the sake of just safety, I thought I would glue a little bit on the ends, because the ends do tend, if I can show you, this one's been laid down quite well, but sometimes the ends, because it's been glued down, these are good. Some of these, see, the ends do pull away. It's no problem. It will stick down. Yeah, so see, that's going to happen. Just expect it and accept it, because you're pulling and so forth. Now, you can sew this down. All right, so what we're going to do now is, because, okay, so this is the plan. This is going to be eventually glued down, but this is how it's going to happen. There's going to be quite a bit of a thing that I'm going to be doing here, and you'll be thinking, what on earth is she doing? All right, but you'll see in a minute. And this is going to go over the top to hold everything down. Because I'm always cautious and anxious about my harebrained ideas, yeah, I just want to make sure, because, you know, I've made this journal. I don't want to be harming it in any way. So to make sure, I've also got this as just a practice feature, just to see if it will work. It's thin enough for me to glue in if it's going to be a go. So you are witnessing my idea now coming to actual fruition. I think this is the way to go. So I've been sitting on this for now, I don't know, 3 weeks, and feeling very anxious about it. So things are slow at my end because I need to think things through. And sometimes I talk it over with my husband as well. But anyway, let's get back to it. Okay, so what this is for, as you will see, we are going to create like a tunnel for the elastic. You will see what I mean. So I'm preparing the tunnel papers, and I've reached for the longest elastic binding, and I'm just going to now line things up so that I can create that tunnel. And I'm keeping the elastic in there. It just helps so that I don't have to keep rethreading, but also you want to keep it there because it will create a bit of a hollow when we start burnishing it down after we've glued it. So we are creating a cardboard tunnel, really, and you just want to be very, very precise with your glue. You want a thin bead of glue, but that's why you want your glue to be really good. And burnishing everything down is just so important. So this is going to naturally create a bit of a tunnel anyway, because there's the elastic in the center there. And now the rest of the elastic, and I want to just make sure everything is lined up again. So those 2 pieces of paper that is housing the tunnel, the background papers that are housing the tunnel, and we're now creating the tunnel now. So this is the tunnel, but the background papers that the tunnel's going to sit on, it's important that they are exactly the same size and width, and in that way it helps keep everything lovely aligned and very orderly, but also it'll help when you're finally gluing everything together. So I know it's a contraption that might look a little bit complicated, but I just really enjoy the challenge of engineering something like this, and I was really, really happy that it actually worked. So now we just need to clip everything down so that everything gets adhered to nicely. We're just going to let this sit and dry. The craft glue that I use, which is acetone base, that goes into that for ease of use. Dries very fast, but it does give you wriggle room. It needs to have some help just to get it going, and it does dry fast, but I just feel that the longer I can have this dry, the better it will be. Okay, so you're still probably wondering what on earth. Well, the great thing about doing it this way means that I can pull these guys out if I want to. If they're in the way, I can just pull them out and I don't need to use them. So that's why they're not glued in. And it allows it also for the stretch not to be interfered with, right? So it's going to allow for more give for this mechanism to work. So that's what is the reason why we're making a tunnel. The back one is the long one. That's going to be glued down like that. All right, so it's going to be glued down like that. And in the center, so that's why we have a little tunnel. And then this will be glued on top. And this will be glued in the opposite way, right? But not on there. We need to make sure the glue is there. All right, so it'll go like that. And then on top, this is going to go on top. And then, it's all going to be glued down here. Then we're going to glue everything down on there. So that will be interesting. But we're going to be using paper fasteners to drill holes on each of these corners just to make sure that they stay where they are. Because we are going to be using a bit of force. And so we want everything to stay intact. And then that means once that is done, then you will have your very own flower press junk journal. It can sit on your desk, it can sit on your shelves, it can lay flat, whatever you like, and then you can absolutely grab your flowers whenever you need. Okay then, I think everything would have dried by now. So we can get crack-a-lacking. All right, everyone. So this cardboard, it's basically two pieces glued together, two pieces of cardstock. And I've made sure that it is exactly the same size as the journal cover at the back here, okay? So this is what we're going to basically launch everything on, and then we will glue that down to there and so forth, okay? So let's get cracking, and yes, let's start layering this down. So we want this, all right, we want this as the back, and everything is going to be built on here. For some reason, even as I'm doing my voiceover, I just keep saying paper rather than cardstock or cardboard, and I apologize. So rather than me just voice over it again and just put a text correction in a text form on screen, so the reason why I'm overdoing this is because I know that the smoother this is, the nicer the finish, because this is quite a thick glue and it needs to be worked, but also it just takes a bit of time for it to adhere and settle and start performing as a glue. So I just like to just take my time. So there we go, and now we just continue. And I left a little bit of marks and everything from my painting, but that's okay, we're not going to see it because that's going to go like so. Now you're probably wondering, why are we doing it this way? Well, if we were doing it so that it was sitting like this and we're pulling it this way, right? Look at that. Can you see? What's going to happen? Eventually it's going to lift whatever is sticking it down. However, if we turn it around, I know it's crazy. If we turn it around and we go this way, yes, it will bend that forward. That is why we have this on the top. It's all about securing everything down so that we can make this work. We're trying to defy the gravity in many ways. So yes, if you're feeling that this is too thin, and maybe it is a little bit too thin, then definitely double it up and make it firmer. But I'm feeling very confident that once this is glued on top of everything, it will help, because it's a very thick cardboard and it's solid. And of course, we're also going to be putting fasteners on either side just to keep everything down. So I'm making sure that as I'm gluing, I don't get any glue on the elastic, because I don't want my elastic to get stuck. So even though I know we're doing this at a fast pace, I am avoiding the region close to where the elastic band meets the cardboard. So once again, I'm making sure I've lined everything up. It needs to be quite precise, because then everything will function properly and will be well aligned. So you want to make sure your pieces of paper that overlap each other are exactly the same size, because you don't want any glue seeping out onto this nor this side. So that's why it has to be the same size. And basically the way that I'm putting this together, I had to think it through and even sort of experiment, and I feel that like this is not going to impinge on either of these functioning as they should. If you ever need anything that you want strapped into a journal, then think about this, because it might just be a solution for what you need. Just a reminder, never underestimate how burnishing, once you've glued something down, is so important. It assures a solid foundation for your junk journal covers. So I think we've done the best that we can here. So that's just going to get glued onto this. And this will be the fun part, working out where I'm going to glue everything. It will mean that this gets a little bit distorted, this piece here. So it may need quite a bit of assistance, unless I kind of prop up something on either side to help glue it. We shall see. I won't be able to glue right along the edges, so that's the glue here, though I can glue over here, but it would have to be very precise, because you don't want your glue to spread. Anyway, so it should have be able to go over there. Yeah, and then that's the good thing about the cardboard, it should bend to my will, hopefully. Plan is for it to be like this, and then all right. So how is it looking? Yeah, I think I will need to do something. See what I mean? There's a bit of a gap there and a gap there. But other than that, it seems to be holding up pretty good, because you can see a little bit of the strain on either side. But this cardboard is what's keeping it down, and I'm very excited that I came up with this construction. Okay, I'm going to need an awl. I'm going to need one of these mats where I can poke the awl in. I've got another one just to double it up. And so what we're doing is we're going to use some of these in just a second. So I've just got a little candle here, and it becomes a little holder at the same time. So they should all be the same length. Okay. These need to be flat brads, not with a curved, only because I want things to be as flat as possible with my construction. The plan is now that I'm now going to glue this on, and first of all I have to think about whether I'm going to decorate it, and then I'm going to pierce this into the four, and then everything's going to get glued down. So I decided not to use my embossed cardstock that I embossed myself, and then overlaid it with a bit of dry brushed it with gold. So I decided to just go with something a little bit plain, though I did think about adding it later. But for now, I just decided let's go for something simple. So it's my antique brown method, which I do go into in part 2 of this tutorial. So if you want to learn how to paint with the colored method of mine, and we may end up talking about it a little bit later on in this tutorial. And I just edged it, or inked, sort of in quotation marks, inked the edges with gold metallic. So once again, I'm being very, very precise around those edges. I don't want any glue to go onto the elastic binding. Okay, so I've just clipped the main board down, and the reason why I'm putting the cardboard is I don't want the pegs to leave an impression, and I just hope everything will glue down. While we're just waiting, I'll do a little bit of ironing just to help smooth out the glue, massage the glue. Alright, and basically we just need it to dry. So in the interim, to just strengthen the spine again, I am using some fabric, but also as a way of decorating it so it looks really lovely. The contraption, or our mechanism, dried, and it's come up so beautifully. I'm really happy with it. It really worked. Okay everybody, so there it is. Now, as you would have seen, I've added some fabric here just to make it look a little bit pretty, using Rachel's beautiful fabric. I'll be linking everything below. So that goes there, and then this is going to sit here. So the question is, how is this looking? And it's looking really good. It's glued down amazingly. So let us then just add an extra caution, a precaution I should say, with the fastener. So this is what we're planning to do. So there's my example. Okay, so this is my example here. So that's what we're going to be doing. And that means that this then will get glued into here. I think I'm just going to eyeball this. So I've got my awl. I've got my paper fasteners. I just want to basically have it here and here. So again, I'm just going to eyeball this. Okay, so that's what it looks like on that side. So I might need to make the holes a bit bigger. Once the holes are made, you can go right in. Just be careful you don't hurt yourself. Alright. Now I could have used decorative brads, but I feel that there's going to be a lot of pressure on here, so I didn't want to sort of use them unnecessarily. Anyway, it's not perfect, but it is handmade. Alright, so now that we've done that, now if yours are too long, you can always trim them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of extra glue for these to stay in place. This product here, it's very, very thick. I get it from Bunnings, and it's it really has never let me down. It does a really good job. So this is optional, by the way, everybody. This is just optional. This is not essential. I'm just taking it just to the next level, really. But yeah, it's not essential. And it's not the prettiest glue, as you can see. It's like a joint compound, or like a plaster filler. So just a little bit, it doesn't need a lot. Kind of clamp it down. I might sort of swing it around, and I'm going to swing it around this way. All right. Now at this stage, if you wanted to, you could lay down some glue. I'm going to use double-sided tape because everything's going to get glued down anyway. Oops. Just as another precaution. The very sticky double-sided tape isn't only just an extra precaution, it sort of tidies up the hinge backing of the fasteners, and it just sort of helps just keep it in place even more. It just keeps things tidy, really. When we're laying this contraption, we want to make sure it doesn't inhibit the spine. So you really want to eyeball it well and make sure that it's sitting correctly. I found that my glue made things a little bit slippery, so things were slipping around, and that's why I felt I had to take action with these clips, not only to help adhere it, but to stop it from moving. It just had a tendency of moving for some reason. But you want to make sure you're always checking the your hinge of your spine. You just don't want it to be gluing right on that fold line where your cover meets the spine. That needs to stay well clear. Okay everyone, so I'm going to stop there, but basically I'm going to babysit this because this is a little bit hard for me to actually pin down. I could put something down, but the clips are in the way, so I'm going to sit there for a while watching a bit of TV and holding it down so that it can adhere. But anyway, that's how it's looking. They might need some help along here as well, but I'll keep an eye on each of those edges. They may need re-gluing or re-clipping, but other than that, I'm really happy with how we've gone about it. So here it is. I thought I'd just give you a quick glimpse before we jump into the tutorial again. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the 14th of August 2025, and it's nice to have you with me. I've been umming and ahhing as to how to proceed with decorating this, and I know I said that this is basically a tool, but now I just feel I want to carry that kind of Victorian semi-gothic, but not. Like when I talk about gothic, it's more into the tones of those somber colors that sometimes the Victorians wore, and I'm going more for, even though this is black, I'm going more for that beautiful brown, that antique brown look with a bit of gold. So the secret to this beautiful rich Victorian antique color brown, any brand of burnt umber and black, and I make sure that there's more of the brown than there is of the black, and I think there might be a video of me showing you. If you would like to see how I combine those two colors, please see part 2 of the Flower Press series. I will have that linked below, or it's in the playlist under the Flower Press Journal tutorial. So that's how I get that beautiful rich color. And I've just gone over them with Gold Rush by Deco Art Metallic Luster. I just love it. It's just very antique-y and very old. It just makes me think of antique Victorian and kind of like that shabby Victorian antique feel. You would have noticed that I had used Rachel's beautiful fabric, but I felt just not fitting in, though I love the fabric and I'm going to use it elsewhere. I was able to pull it off, though some of the paper did come off. So I did love this, and I did cut it down and try and layer it with it as well, because I wanted to go layers. and that is really pretty. But with the whole thing, yeah, I just wanted the spine to be a little bit less patterning sort of thing. But this is beautiful. I'm going to be using it elsewhere as well as the rest of Rachel's beautiful fabrics. So all I've done here, so if you're wondering, so I'll put that there, lay this down because I just want to kind of cover that. And then I decided finally on this beautiful lace. I know I'm going to be covering up some of it. I just love layers. And so basically this is chiffon, this is just some netting that's been coffee stained, and some calico, and this little piece here with that little piece there. So I thought I'd go with that look. Keep it simple. And one of the reasons why I've got this here is that, as you can imagine, this is Velcro. If it ever falls across, it's not going to impact on the fabric because it'll rip really or pull it. So yeah, I'll just sort of close that off like that. Okay, I really wanted to do something here. Now originally I was just going to do like a belly band and basically keep my papers here. If I need them, they're at the ready. I could have it that way, but I could just still in the same way have them tucked into this, right? So I may as well have them tucked in there, ready to go. I just thought this was the way I'm going to do it. Now I will have a tutorial on this. This part of the tutorial will be shown in part 4. I'm going to prepare everything. I'm going to cut everything down. So you'll be seeing me lay all of that down. But I really want to make this a special treat, to make something beautiful for pressed flowers. One of the caveats that I noticed is that if you do not glue these down properly and stretch this as much as possible, they will come off. But it doesn't matter, you can glue them again with good fabric glue. So you've just got to be patient and just take your time with them, and eventually they're going to stay where they are. If you ever have problems, you just glue them. Make sure they're clipped down and you get a good fabric glue. Of course, this is the one that I always use, the original. There's 2 types of these now, acetone free or acetone. Well, I'm using the acetone, so always make sure you see what it contains to make sure you're getting the right one of this craft glue. It just basically bolts everything down, most things anyway. Okay, so see here, this is what I mean. So that will happen, it will stick down again, because that's what they do. So don't panic, it's just part of the way this functions. Now, it's true I could sew it down, but I'm hesitant to do that because it is self-adhesive and I don't want it to gunk up my sewing machine. So if I was all of you, if you do want to do it this way, I would definitely be getting ones that don't have any self-adhesive at the back and sewing them with a sewing machine. Sewing them by hand might be very brutal on your hands, but definitely sewing it down in a sewing machine. So that's what I would be doing next time. Yes, if you're wondering about some of the things that I've got here, there will be upcoming tutorials where I show you how to make something like that. I chose to use tape to lay down my fabric because my fabric was so sheer, and I thought, well, I'm already going to the trouble, I may as well just adhere double-sided tape. But I'm not going to show you the process now because I'm hoping to have a tutorial on how I do use my fabrics, especially how to use your sheer fabrics. So I'm going to just speed a lot of this up for the sake of time. I don't want this to be an extensively long video. I have absolutely edited to the best of my ability, because it would have been almost 3 hours long. So I thought, why not skip that part? But you can use any glue to lay down your pieces. So if you're going to go down the fabric route, like I have to decorate things, then just use a good flat fabric glue. And as I said, I will do my best to get another video out for you to see how I lay down my fabric just using double-sided tape. So you don't need to use a tape. I'm just using it because I'm using something quite sheer, but you can use glue. In fact, where I'm placing the tape, the double-sided tape, you could put your glue there, because the next item that goes on top of that is the calico, which would hide everything anyway, and then you've got a few more layers. But this is optional, obviously. Everyone's going to decide how they want to decorate the inside of their flower press journal cover. It's going to be totally up to you, but for me, I wanted to go for that Victorian look. I just felt it was in keeping with that flower press journal, because the Victorians were known for the language of flowers. Everything was a code when it came to their flowers. So I'm just imagining a Victorian lady who just loves her garden, loves collecting her flowers. She's pressing those beautiful flowers in this construction, and maybe she's doing it because she would like to create beautiful cards with those dried flowers and send them off to her friends. And each of those pressed flowers will have some sentiment or meaning or symbolism behind them that will be very meaningful to the recipient, because that's what they were all about. They loved that symbolism of something that meant much more than what you saw on the surface. So that's why I've gone for those beautiful neutral colors and those dark gothic-y Victorian browns, kind of very antique-y. I just love that look. It's very elegant, it's very simple, and very much in keeping with the flower press concept and making your own dried flowers. So here I'm adding the inside piece just to keep the flow harmonizing. So the back cover here that you can see with the elastic is going to be matched up with what I'm now gluing, just about ready to glue on. And talking about the elastic, you don't have to use the elastic at all, the elastic bands there. You can use your fabric. And you can attach it with a clip. You can attach the journal cover, the flower press journal that this contraption that I've made will house. And you can use fabric, you can use a clip to clip everything together. You can use the Velcro on the fabric. You can even use a safety pin. But I just love how we now have a place or a base for the journal, the flower press journal, to live within, and it can be released easily and taken anywhere we need it to go without having to take the entire flower press journal cover. Hey everybody, it just got a little bit warm for me, so I've taken off my jumper. It's still the 19th of August. Now what I wanted to say was, I just realized that this wasn't meant to go on here, so it was meant to go somewhere else, and that's why it's a little bit sort of not cut the way that I wanted it, because I would have liked to have had the frayed edge there. So I'm just really babysitting this, trying to make sure it's not going to come apart. It won't. It just takes a bit of time for the craft glue that I use just to kind of catch. Once it does, it will do an amazing job, but you kind of got to keep at it. Because it's also very slippery, it does slip around a bit, so you've got to watch that as well. Anyway, like I said, I'm a little bit disappointed with myself. This should have been cut a little bit narrower just to make it work, but it doesn't matter. It's, like I said, it's a tool. It's not impacting anything, and this has come out so well. I'm really pleased with how that is looking. That's exactly what I wanted, and this is glued down very well. Pretty good now. I'm going to continue on with the rest of this, so just make sure. So yes, sometimes it's just a matter of babysitting your pieces just to make sure that they're going to stay. But yeah, I think it will. And we've got our pieces here, so I'm going to have that there and then that on top. So with this one here, this will get stuck down once I've worked out how I'm going to place. So in this tutorial, just so that we can keep it contained, so that it doesn't go over an hour, I will be showing you how I put this together, this journal topper, in part 4, and I will show you how to attach it to the journal as well. So please look out for that video. It will be coming soon. That's why please subscribe and have your notification bells on so that you'll be alerted to when it's available. So look out for the journal toppers that are coming in part 4 in the Flower Press Journal tutorial series. So here it is, everybody. Here is that construction mechanism completed, and I hope you have enjoyed this method of mine and the way that I've kind of engineered it, and it's a pleasure that I could have shared this with you. The Flower Press Journal cover and the Flower Press Journal within it. So that's the end of that tutorial. If you would like to see how to make the journal toppers that you're seeing in your screen right now, then please join me next time for part 4 of this, so that you can learn how to make these beautiful journal toppers with me. But thank you very much for joining me, and if you would like to see the playlist of part 1 and part 2 of this series, then please click on the end card and join me there. To all my subbies, thank you so much, and for all those that are new here, please do join us by subscribing. Please put that notification bell on, and please like and comment and let me know your thoughts. It would really help me so much, and I want to just say again, thanks a lot for your fantastic support. Thank you everybody for watching. Please take care. Bye.